Good afternoon. Welcome to our monthly Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. At this time, everyone who can stand, can you please stand to pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Excuse me, folks, if you can be seated. Oh, staff, never mind, I'm sorry. At this time, I would like to ask I'm not on, this is the second month, I swear. Okay, I will now call our meeting to order. If you haven't already, please silence your cell phones, and we will work first with the consent agenda. For those who are being here for the first time, do not have a copy of the agenda, we concern ourselves with cases that are on the consent agenda. These are cases that have been reviewed by the board and by the professionals from various departments in the county, and to which there is no known opposition at this time. We discussed these in our work session. Certain staff comments and stipulations have been made, and we do not anticipate any further discussion is needed for a decision. So as we go forward, the County Zoning Division Manager, Mr. Peterson, will read each case into the record. Mr. Peterson will ask you to raise your hand as your case is called to signify you are present. If there are anyone here in opposition to a case that is currently on consent, Mr. Peterson will ask you to identify yourself and ask that case is read into the record. We will then pull that case off consent and hear it as part of our regular case agenda. We will then vote on all the cases at one time that are on consent. Once we have approved those cases on consent, we move to our regular case agenda. With that, we are ready to address consent. Mr. Peterson, it's all yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And before we begin the hearing, there's one case on today's printed agenda which needs to be continued. That's variance case V28 of 2025, Vicky Beham. For this case, Madam Chair and Board, the applicant does need to work with stormwater management to address a stormwater issue. So the staff would ask the board to continue V28 until your next hearing.
Make a motion to move V28.
Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Ms. Swanson, all place your votes, please. That has been approved. Thank you very much.
All right. Next case, variance case V15 of 2025, Heath Lawson. They need to continue this case. Madam Chair and Board, apparently there's another variance that was missed that needs to be requested. So the staff would ask the board to continue V15 into your hearing next month.
So moved.
Second.
Please place your votes. It is approved. Next, Mr. Peterson.
Okay, with that, I'm ready to start the consent agenda.
Okay.
Cobb County Board of Zoning Appeals variance hearing consent agenda for February 12th, 2025. First case on consent is variance case V150 of 2024, Kofi Nagbe. Request a variance to allow encroachment of the 65-foot undisturbed stream buffer. And number two, increase the maximum allowable impervious coverage from 40% to 57.98% in land lot 520 of the 16th district. The property is located on the west side of Shaw Road, north of Mitchell Falls Court. Staff recommends approval, subject to erosion control to approve the final buffer averaging plan. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case at V150? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V16, Bonnie Colsar requests a variance to number one, allow an accessory structure, which is an existing approximately 7,392 square foot volleyball court to be located in front of and to the side of the principal structure. Number two, allow for an accessory structure, which is the existing approximately 288 square foot gazebo to be located in front of and to the side of the principal structure. Number three, reduce the setbacks for an accessory structure over 1,000 square feet for an existing approximately 7,392 square foot volleyball court from required 100 feet to 5 feet adjacent to the south property line, 28 feet adjacent to the east property line, 37 feet adjacent to the west property line and 65 feet adjacent to the north property line. Number 4, reduce the setback for an accessory structure, which is an existing approximately 288 square foot gazebo from required 35 feet to 18 feet adjacent to the west property line. Number 5, allow pool equipment to be located to the side of the principal structure, and that is an existing condition. And number 6, reduce the setback for pool equipment from required 5 feet to 0 feet adjacent to the east property line, which is existing, in land lot 75 of the first district. The property is located at the eastern terminus of Maple Brook, north of Dogwood Trail. Staff recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V16? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V18, David Gregory Peterson, requests a variance to number 1, allow an accessory structure, which is a proposed 2,184 square foot, 2-story garage to be located in front of and to the side of the principal structure. And number 2, allow an in-ground pool to be located to the side of the principal structure in land lot 230 of the 20th district. The property is located on the west side of Red Rock Road, north of Ford's Road. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, no commercial use or residential dwelling use of the accessory structure. And number 2, accessory structure to be substantially similar to the elevation in a variance analysis. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V18? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V19, Nicholas Smith and Jordan R. Smith request a variance to number 1, allow an in-ground pool and equipment to be located to the side of the principal building. Number 2, increase the maximum allowable impervious surface from 35% to 38.35%. And number 3, reduce the rear setback from required 30 feet to 19 feet in land lot 23 of the 16th district. The property is located at the northern terminus of Canopy Drive, north of Canopy Lane. Staff recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Is the applicant here for V19? Is there anyone here opposed to this variance case? Madam Chair and Board, the applicant is not present, but there is no one here opposed. Would it be the board's wish to keep this on consent? Okay. Okay, next case is variance case V20. Alexander Yavmarov requests a variance to number 1, reduce the front setback from required 40 feet to 37 feet. Number 2, reduce the setback for an accessory structure over 1,000 square feet for an existing approximately 1,876 square foot shed from required 100 feet to 3 feet adjacent to the north property line, 3 feet adjacent to the east property line, and 20 feet adjacent to the west property line. And number 3, allow for parking and/or maneuvering on a non-hardened treated surface, which is gravel and grass of the shed access, in land lot 458 of the 16th district. The property is located on the north side of Davis Road, west of Ellesmere Trace. Staff recommends approval, subject to no commercial or residential dwelling use of the accessory structure. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V20? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V21, Don Hegmeister requests a variance to reduce the rear setback from required 35 feet to 17 feet in land lot 605 of the 16th district. The property is located at the northern terminus of Harvest Way, north of Rocky Springs Drive. Staff recommends approval. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V21? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V22, Ashley Dover requests a variance to allow pool equipment to be located on the side of the principal building in land lot 816 of the 16th district. The property is located on the east side of Tabor Drive, east of Holly Springs Road. Staff recommends approval. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V22? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V23, Markham Paycoff requests a variance to reduce the rear setback from required 35 feet to 22 feet in land lot 131 of the 20th District. The property is located on the south side of Wimbledon Drive, west of Wimbledon Court. Staff recommends approval. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V23? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V24, Parent Properties, Inc. requests a variance to increase the maximum impervious coverage from required 80% to 82.53%, which is existing, in land lot 172 of the 20th District. The property is located on the northwest corner of Auto Park Drive and Barrett Lakes Boulevard, north of Ernest Barrett Parkway. Staff recommends approval, subject to stormwater management comments. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V24? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V26, Teresa and Andre Mitz request a variance to, number one, reduce the rear setback from required 40 feet to 32 feet. Number two, allow an accessory structure, an existing one-story, approximately 345 square foot garage to be located in front of and to the side of the principal building. Number three, allow an accessory structure, which is an existing approximately 40 square foot doghouse to be located in front of and to the side of the principal building. And number four, reduce the rear setback for an accessory structure, which is an existing approximately 315 square foot concrete covered patio, which requires 40 feet to 19 feet in land lot 336 of the 20th District. The property is located on the north side of Midway Road, west of Wild Stream Place. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Number one, no commercial use or residential dwelling use of the accessory structures. And number two, plat to be recorded with this variance noted on it. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Anyone here opposed to variance case V26? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V27, World Finance requests a variance to increase the wall sign area maximum allowed from 37 square feet to 82 square feet in land lots 1029 and 1060 of the 16th District. The property is located on the east side of Ross Road and on the south side of Robinson Road. Staff recommends approval. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V27? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Variance case V29, Robert and Tamara Zubik request a variance to reduce the side setback from required 12 feet to 6 feet adjacent to the south property line in land lot 340 of the 20th District. The property is located at the northern terminus of Catsby Road, east of Nuttail Lane. Staff recommends approval, subject to no commercial use of the building addition. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case of V29? Let the record show there's no one opposed. And finally, for consent, variance case V30, Mission Builders LLC requests a variance to reduce the rear setback from required 35 feet to 10 feet in land lot 109 of the 17th District. The property is located on the east side of Leland Court, north of Camellia Circle. Staff recommends approval. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case V30? One opposed? Okay, we have one person opposed to V30, so we'll pull that one off consent and put it in its regular order. And that completes the consent agenda, Madam Chair and Board.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. So it's back to the board now. Does anyone have any?
Yes, I have one
Fred.
proposed amendment on V26, in addition to the stipulations and conditions read in, just that the applicant is also to maintain the existing tree buffers on the east and north property lines, and to the extent they must be disturbed due to construction activity, that those trees be replaced. With that one proposed change, I move that we accept and approve the consent agenda as amended.
A second.
Place your votes, please. Consent items have been approved. If you had a case on the consent agenda, you're feel free to leave now. Just do so quietly, because we're now going on with our regular agenda. Mr. Peterson, I think we're now ready to proceed with our regular case agenda. The procedure here is Mr. Peterson will read a case into the record. The applicant and/or his representative who wishes to speak will be asked to come forward to be sworn in. Likewise, anyone wishing to speak in opposition will be asked to come forward as well. The applicant and the opposition will have 10 minutes each to present their case. All testimony is made from the podium to my right, and they have AV capabilities up there. Testimony will be followed by questions from the board and may be directed at either party. A reminder, once comments from all parties related to the case have concluded and the public hearing has been closed, there can be no further comments from parties involved unless requested by a member of the board, at which point you will be asked to return to the podium. Thank you. Mr. Peterson?
Okay, first case we're going to hear today is variance case V130 of 2024. Jennifer and Trey Camburn request a variance to, number one, increase the maximum impervious coverage allowed from 35% to 40%. Number two, reduce the rear setback from required 40 feet to 14 feet, and that is an existing condition. And number three, reduce the front setback from required 45 feet to 19 feet, which is also existing in land lot 756 of the 16th district. The property is located on the south side of Bishop Lake Road, north of Spring Circle. The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V130? Please raise your hand. Ten. Okay, let the record show there's 10 people here opposed. All those who would like to address the board either for or against this application, please come forward to be sworn in.
Make sure that the people who are in opposition, that they have to share the 10 minutes time. Except the traffic's sort of on.
Ready for me?
Ready for you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Board, I'm Adam Rosen with Rosen, and Riley, here for V130 of 2024. Jennifer and Trey Camburn, who are the owners of 4540 Bishop Lake Road. You have heard this application previously in '24, and we are back today after a lot of work since that time, and a month in between. So we appreciate the opportunity to be back and to hear again what we think is the final day for the case. So we appreciate that opportunity. Just to get back to the property, this is our parcel here, the outlined on this aerial. This is a property that's under a third of an acre in size. Probably the first thing you see is the odd shape of it. And not only small, but oddly shaped, also has topography that is being dealt with for any structure built on the property with the grade from Bishop Lake Road down to the lake. And then, of course, closer to the lake, even more extreme. Also unique to this property, the way that it U's or V's in the middle creates some challenges and creates, certainly far short of a straight line for setbacks and for building purposes. And we'll talk about that a little bit more, and that's the reason largely why you see the structure built the way that it is now, and the way that we're proposing to build it largely within the same footprint of what's there now. You saw a site plan like this and some others previously. I was not around for some of this in the beginning, but I understand there was some confusion around this site plan and some of the other aspects of the case at that time. So hopefully we can eliminate any of the confusion and clarify some of that now. This site plan has been revised significantly since then, a lot of it just to simplify what the request is and to make it a little bit easier to understand. One thing that has been talked about is the triangle shape there. You'll see that what they attempted to do, and I think did, it was hard to maybe understand in the beginning, was showing what the existing setback lines would do if they were imposed on this property. You have a 40 and a 45 and a 12, you have very little bit of space left to build anything within. This is similar to a lot of the properties on Bishop Lake. Rightfully so, it's a beautiful place to be. A lot of homes fit in around the lake. You have properties and lots that look like this. You've had to have a lot of accommodations to allow homes to be built here, and we'll show you that. You've got a lot of variances around Bishop Lake in the past. So that's what that was, and that was the original, one of the revised original plans. What has been submitted and what you have now for the current revised site plan shows the proposed additional building footprint. That's the darker blue in the top left of the screen. That is maintaining a 12-foot side building setback. Originally, the request was to encroach into that side setback, I think up to 9 feet. So we've pulled that back, agreed to stay within that 12-foot building setback. So that variances has been removed. Starting at the top, the setback from Bishop Lake Road, that's the driveway that's existing, and then showing you some proposed additional driveway area to head straight into the new proposed additional building area. Part of that will be their garage. And then the driveway looks the way that it does because it's proposed pervious pavers. You've heard about impervious surface for this case, and it seems like for almost all of your cases now. What they're proposing is pervious pavers for the driveway. That has significantly reduced the overall impervious surface. We requested at some point up to 50%, thinking we may need that, not knowing what the impervious would be at earlier times. And we're now down to 36%, so just 1% above what the maximum allowed is. So that's the driveway. The front building setback is the line along Bishop Lake Road next to the driveway. That has changed a little bit over time as far as what the request was. 19 I think was the original request. We were concerned with the uncertainty about the right-of-way width, whether it needed to be an additional or further encroachment. We've confirmed that that does not need to be the case, and so it is 19 feet. And to square off that setback, we've drawn the line straight across. And because the way the property is, that ends up being that 29 feet 3 inches on the other side. So we're asking to build up to 19 feet. That's the existing location of part of the structure in its current location. And that's consistent with the front and the rear setback that we're proposing, is that the setbacks be no further in than what they currently are as far as the existing building footprint. And that's where it currently is in the rear, or in the front, along Bishop Lake Road. And then flipping to the back side of the property, or the lake side, you see the 14-foot building setback line identified. That is, again, the edge of where the current closest building footprint is to the property line or to the lake. So the southern part of that site plan is actually is Bishop Lake and the property line. One thing we changed most recently, we originally identified that 14-foot line, and then most recently changed to redraw the area around that existing building footprint as a 25-foot setback. That was from discussions and requests that we, if we can have a 14-foot setback because that's the existing location, that doesn't mean that we can build up to 14 feet everywhere. And we understand that, and we are willing to agree to that. So we redrew this showing the 14-foot setback there. Just so you have a little bit of better idea, I don't know what you've seen the property or seen pictures of the house in its current condition. Certainly, when the Camberons took over the property, it was neglected for a long time, and this is the condition that it's in. So good reason for the request to rebuild, to renovate, to get much closer to the condition of what most of the properties are on Bishop Lake. Again, beautiful lake, a lot of beautiful homes. Just trying to get to that point here for this property as well. This is another view, similar direction, looking back towards the lake on the right-hand side. Caught my son here on Saturday with a glimpse in the picture there, but that gives you a view across the lake, and one of the houses that we'll show you on as the other houses that have had setback variances, so you can get a better view of what it looks like and what they're trying to do. couple other views of the home. This is Bishop Lake Road. This shows you the alignment with the adjoining house, which is I think 20 feet off. We're 19, so we're very similar in alignment off of Bishop Lake Road for that portion of the building. We've talked about enclosing the actual seawall to the property line. That was a request, not necessarily a part of the variance, but we've agreed to do that because of runoff concerns. So we've identified that on the site plan. Talked a lot about the deck coming off the back of the building. Initially, the concern was either a building setback or a 25-foot lake buffer setback would be encroached by rebuilding this deck. So originally, you see the original deck picture. Originally, there was a deck on the building. The question was, is it grandfathered? Can we rebuild it? We realized and determined by, this is a stormwater management comment, that because there is a seawall, there's not a 25-foot stream buffer, and because it's just a deck that's not covered and enclosed, it's not subject to the regular building setbacks, only a 5-foot setback. So this deck would extend out from the building 9 feet. So we meet the 5-foot setback. It's not covered, it's not enclosed. And because we know there's no stream buffer or lake buffer there, it's not part of the variance anymore. There's not a variance required in order to build that deck. But it has been a topic of discussion, so we wanted to make sure that was clear to the board as far as our request and our perspective on it. We've had a lot of discussions with East Cobb Civic Association. We appreciate their involvement and Rick's involvement working with us in this case. We've also had discussions with our neighbor on the west here, Mr. and Mrs. Enzinger. Their concern was visibility. 1 minute, yes, I know, behind. Their concern is visibility. To get a better perspective of that, I've shown you this, to see their sight line from their home. Our deck, we don't believe impedes in that. I think you can see that from this picture. And again, that's not part of the variance. That's a permittable deck by right, so long as it's not enclosed. A couple other views from that side, from the Enzingers' home. This is just on our property. We've talked about the driveway. Originally, it was a gravel driveway request. There's 2 entrances. There was some concerns from DOT about that. This is our neighbor, again, same type of driveway, although we now have pavers instead of gravel, so we've addressed that concern. We've talked about the boundary line concerns with the Enzingers. Kevin Moore and I are working on resolving that. We understand that this case doesn't resolve that. That's being handled separately, so we believe that will be resolved outside of this case.
Mr. Rosen, your time is up.
Okay, thank you. I'll leave you with all the other variances along the lake.
Can we leave that slide up, please?
Yeah.
I have one, Jersey.
Good afternoon. If you will state your name and address, and also, just as a reminder, the opposition gets a total of 10 minutes. I saw quite a few folks here in attendance, so I just wanted to remind you of that time constraint. Thank you.
Richard Enzinger. Good afternoon, Board. This picture up here, at our previous hearing in November, the Camburns architect displayed on the screen an aerial view of the houses surrounding Bishop Lake. This chart displayed all the historical variances filed on each property. All of these requests dealt with rear boundary setbacks and other items. The boxed captions show the variance requests. Nowhere were the variance results displayed or discussed. The architect failed to tell the whole story. Seawall or not one of these variance requests was approved for the state water buffer setback less than 25 feet from the shoreline, other than grandfathered structures. All but 5 of our lake properties have a seawall or riprap, and none of the properties have ever been issued a variance for new additional construction inside the 25-foot water buffer. Again, the architect failed to mention this. I have the results of all the variance hearings but I won't take up your time to review. The variance hearing results are available on the county website, or I have them here if the board desires. The most recent new construction at Bishop Lake at 4340 Bishop Lake Road, the grading phase just starting, has a site plan of the building displaying greater than 25 feet from the shoreline. We request that the Camburn property adhere to a 25-foot rear setback from the lake, except for the existing structure at 14 feet. The rear deck repair displayed on the revised site plan is not a repair or a rebuild. It is new construction starting at 14 feet from the lake and extending to 5 feet from the shoreline. If you'll show that, please. The previous deck, the structure on the left shows no deck, and that date is January 20 to March 2020. 5 years ago, the deck was removed. There is no existing footprint to grandfather a new deck construction within 14 feet of the lake shoreline. Mr. and Mrs. Camburn, preserve the unique environment of our Bishop Lake community. Observe our community's shared values of no new additional construction within 25 feet of the shoreline. We welcome upgrades, improvements, and enhancements, but reject expansions that encroach on the lake shoreline. Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman, board members, my name is Richard Grome. I am with East Cobb Civic Association and ECCA case manager for V130. The applicant has submitted a revised site plan dated January 27th, along with revised variances. ECCA has submitted its recommendations to the board in addition to handed out copies today. ECCA recommends for variance 1, any increase in impervious surface be denied. The new site plan shows 36%. The footprint of the proposed additional building is now 174 square feet larger than the first site plan, and the impervious surface has increased by 69 square feet. ECCA cannot support any increase over code in impervious surface. There is no hardship. ECCA recommends for variance 2 is that 14-foot rear setback be approved for the footprint of the existing structure. Only there is no hardship to support a 14-foot setback across the entire rear of the property. What is now being proposed by the applicant is different than what was submitted January 27th. If you put that, is it on now? Okay. And it shows a 25-foot setback now, except for the building structures, except that that's not quite the case. It shows that it goes straight across on his proposal, but in actual fact, the structure for the other building over here is way back here, and the site setback should be set back to that point, which I've handed out to the board and shown in red, where we believe the setback should be if the board accepts it at 25 feet. Variance 3, front setback. ECCA recommends approval as shown on the new site plan dated 1/31/25. The front setback would go from 19 feet from the east side to 29 feet 3 inches on the west side, and that's shown on this new site plan that came out a day and a half ago. So we recommend that any approved variances be site plan specific and subject to all staff comments where not in conflict. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak? You have 4 minutes left, sir.
My name is Jim Beveridge. I reside at 1990 Country Squire Road, Marietta, Georgia. I also live on Bishop Lake. My big opposition, it has to do with the nature of the use of the property. The smaller structure that's existing is currently used and will continue to be used as an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit for short-term rentals. And I think that eliminates the hardship because that structure could be expanded and connected to the other existing structure on the property. And there wouldn't be a need for this tremendous expansion of, the residence as proposed. I think we're establishing a precedent. If you allow the ADU to remain for short-term rentals, it's used for short-term rentals. There's also parking considerations and traffic considerations with having more than one residence on this less than 1/3 of an acre lot. That's my biggest opposition, is I think we're establishing a precedent for an ADU on this property, even though it's connected by a breezeway. And they say it's not an ADU because it's connected via the breezeway, but it's an ADU. It's used for short-term rentals, and I'm not sure the board's aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has a comment in opposition before we close the public hearing? All right, we have now closed the public hearing, and I'll defer to Ms. Swanson for further conversations.
To clear up a few things that we've seen over and over. So variances are to the individual property, and it does not set a precedent. So it doesn't matter how many variances have been surrounding this lake. A variance is just to the property. Each property is unique. Each property is to justify why they need variances. It doesn't matter if the neighbor 2 doors down got a variance. So all of that information is, yes, this lake area has gotten many variances, but what we do as far as adding stipulations and why some properties got away with something and another property didn't has no impact. It makes no difference to what's being proposed today for V130. Just to make a clarification. So I have met with the lawyer for V130. I have talked to a number of people with regards to V130. The commissioner that is in her area, we've worked very closely together. She can't be here today because her mother is in the hospital. So since I'm very, very aware and know this area and this variance, she asked that I represent her today. So in going through all the information that was received, I'm ready to make my motion for V130 with the following stipulations. So today I make my motion to approve V130 with the following stipulations. So it's subject to the site plan is submitted on 2/10/2025. And I believe that was a site plan that the gentleman from East Cobb Civic Association put up that was submitted, not the one with the red line drawn through. The applicant is to meet with stormwater. I know that you're at 36%, but we need to get down to 35%. I believe that you can meet with stormwater. You can set up an appointment with him today to mitigate it to the 35%. On the site plan that was submitted on 2/10, it says existing deck, repair existing deck. We need to take that off. It isn't an existing deck. It's to replace deck. So remove that. The existing deck is to, the existing deck on the east of the house, let me back up. So this rear deck, strike repair, and to say replace rear deck. On the rear deck, it will remain uncovered, no side lattice on either ends. So now we'll get to the existing, let's see. So so we're fine with that. The left-hand side of the site plan behind the proposed additional building footprint. So if do we need to put that up for everybody to see, or the map? Well, it's part of my stipulations. So the left-hand side of the site plan behind the proposed addition building footprint, and to the proposed part that says the 25 rear BSL, in that space, you will not be allowed to build a structure. No structure can be constructed behind that space. So you have the footprint of the proposed addition, which I believe is the garage, and then even though the property line, the proposed 25-year baseline comes down, you will not be able to put anything else in between that. The next one is to extend the seawall to be built prior to any grading or construction on the site. The seawall, once it's built, and that's any structure, no grading, nothing, you go in and you put, the first thing you do before you take any, you remove anything, the seawall is to be built. It has to then be inspected by a Cobb building inspector before the rest of the building permits are obtained. So that is my motion. Second.
Second.
Ready to place your votes? Please place your votes. Pass. Motion is passed. Thank you.
Okay, next case is variance case V17, Sandy Braswell. Request a variance to allow for parking and/or maneuvering on a non-hard and treated surface, which is gravel access for the approximately 962 square foot canopy and steel building in land lots 718 and 719 of the 19th district. The property is located on the south side of Macedonia Road, east of Avondale Parkway. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to the variance case V17? None? Okay, let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward to be sworn in?
Good evening, Board. My name is Sandy Braswell. I'm the owner at 3163 Macedonia Road. And I was here humbly asking that I'm granted permission to use a gravel driveway to access a utility shed that we have on the property. There's a couple of reasons I'm strained with using a paved surface to that shed. The first reason is it's an unexpected expense of, around 10 grand that my wife and I just don't have right now. We're at 70% constructing the home, and we've run into some unforeseen issues with the home. And another issue that we're having with the paved surfaces, because it would have to cover all of our utilities accessing the home. And right now, we're in a dispute with the builder. The installed sewer line that he have in there isn't exactly what we were expecting, the material or the size of the pipe, and it's buried less than what the depth is less than what it should be. And we've been back and forth with him on that since November, and I have email corresponding copies that I brought just in case you wanted to see proof of it. But I don't think that he's going to change them. I think it's something that we're going to have to come back and do later. Not just that, the water line that he installed is only like a 3/4 inch water line, and it's like a 150-foot run. And with the fixtures we have, I'm pretty sure that's going to have to be upgraded as well. And so it's going to create a few challenges going forward, putting it there. So I just humbly request that you allow me to use the gravel to access that building. Thank you.
Do you have anything else you'd like to share?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You may take a seat.
Okay.
Do any of my fellow commissioners have any comments, questions, or concerns with respect to this variance request? Mr. Braswell, I'm sorry, can you just come up one more time, please? I have a couple questions for you. Thank you, sir. We weren't able to correspond over the month. Now, with respect to, because you were here previously when your variance was approved, and one of the conditions of that approval was to have that driveway paved, is that correct?
That's correct. And I wasn't aware that I could have asked for the gravel at that time. I thought that the variance, I wasn't aware of the process. And so at that time, I didn't know that the gravel, I could have asked for a variance for that as well.
I believe that that was in your variance request, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that was one, well, it was one of the conditions that was placed on it, and it was one that was emailed to both you and your builder at that time, and both you and he indicated your understanding and approval of such conditions, correct?
It was a stipulation at that time, and I was so wrapped up in the fact that I may have to remove a shed that I already had on the building until that my thought process just wasn't really onto the gravel driveway.
Understood. So you didn't pay attention to the specifics because of the actual shed?
Right. My focus was on the shed because I thought that I would have to move it.
Understood. Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Okay.
You can have a seat.
Anyone else? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Does anybody have any other concerns or questions for the applicant? Okay, so I am, what I think I'd like to do, I'd like to make a motion to hold this particular, this variance request. I would love to work with Mr. Braswell a little bit more to see how we can mitigate some of the issues that were raised with the building concerns that he has in terms of accessing services that he's going to need access to down the road. And I want to make sure that we can do our due diligence to work together and come up with a comparable solution. So my motion is to hold this for 30 days.
Second.
Place your vote. Motion is passed. Thank you.
I'm sorry, before we move on to the next case, Mr. Braswell, if you will reach out to me in the coming weeks so that we can work together on a solution, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next case is variance case V25. Isaac Hyatt requests a variance to increase the maximum impervious coverage from required 35% to 39.1% in land lot 166 of the First District. The property is located on the east side of Bliss Lane, north of Ross Road. Is the applicant present? The director of the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to variance case V25?
You know,
Let the record show there's no one opposed. Would the applicant please come forward and be sworn in?
good afternoon. State your name.
Hi, my name is David Hayut. I'm here on behalf of my father. We are, first of all, hello to all of you. We are requesting to have a variance approved to increase the impervious coverage of the house on this lot from 35 to roughly 39%. The reason I think that we got to 39% on the design for this house is in our attempt to build a house that is roughly uniform to the sizes of the existing homes in the subdivision. And I believe that a lot of what ends up putting us over is the roadway that is part of our lot. So I don't think that the house itself is necessarily, larger than other homes. That's really the gist of our application. I did not really have a chance to prepare a much larger statement due to my injuries very recently. That's pretty much all I'll say on the matter. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I'm sorry, whose case is that? Bennett's or?
mine. It's mine.
I can't-
You can stay, you can start.
Yes. Can we
You
just?
can stand and we can start the hearing. Can you put up his site plan? Do you have the site plan available, or
I can pull it up on my phone and we can.
the site plan that you submitted with the application?
Yes. So the site plan reflects two lots. It reflects the lot to the right of our house. I do own both lots, so if you look like to the top, you have the roadway coming in from the main road of the subdivision. It's kind of like a right-of-way, so it's not a full-size road leading to the house, and then we have a relatively small driveway heading into the garages.
Okay. There's an issue that we have with an easement, so I'm going to have you take a seat. So I'm going to have you take a seat and have Wilson Collin come up and talk about the issue that we have with this.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
I wish we had a map. I wish we had the map, you could see. Usually they put up a map.
Yeah. Should we ask him? Should we keep it spoiled so we can?
Wilson Collins from Cobb Water and Sewer.
Hi. When we had our work session, you pointed that there was an issue with a wall being on the sewer easement, within the sewer easement, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that is.
Can you, if there was a map, it would be really good. The site plan. Could you explain where this wall, there, thank you so much. Where the issue and what needs to be removed in order for it to be in compliance with easements?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you kindly. Yes, ma'am. So I'm zooming in right now. The kind of thicker black curve line appears to be a wall, and that is encroaching inside of the sewer easement and the sewer easement setback. And I did actually have the opportunity to talk to David about last Tuesday, and I think he was going to look into that and didn't have my comments at that time.
Okay. And so the wall that is currently proposed to be built would need to be removed?
Yes, ma'am.
Completely removed, not just pushed to one side, completely removed to get out of the easement?
Completely, plus 2 feet for the setback. Yes, ma'am.
Wall removed in 2 feet. Okay. Okay, you can have a seat, and then the applicant can come back up. The applicant, you may come back up. If you could keep this up here, that'd be great.
Yes.
That was perfect. So given that we can't approve your application because of the fact that you have this sewer easement issue, do you have any issues, or would you be willing to remove the wall out of this easement?
I'm open to removing the wall. I honestly would have to be able to make it out to the property in order to see exactly how it lays out and just meet with the engineer to see where it's at, but I have no opposition to moving the wall, you know, on face value, no.
So given that you'd have to go to the property, see what this would do, rather than me just do a stipulation that the wall is be removed, it may not work. We can put this on hold, or can you say now that you'll go out to the property, the wall will be removed?
I can say with 95% certainty that it can be built without the wall, but I don't want to, you know, make a promise that I can't keep. So if it makes better sense for the board to put it on hold for a month, I'm okay with that. I don't want to wait 2 months to reapply for a variance again.
No, you won't have to. So what we'll do is we'll put this on hold, and then you can come to the March hearing. In the meantime, if you could talk to Mr. Collins about the issue, what it is, and get a little bit more information, then you can make sure that when you go out to your property, you'll see exactly what the issue is being on the sewer easement.
Okay.
And then you can come back. You don't have to put in another application. You just change the date on your sign for the March hearing, and then you can come back and we can hear it.
Okay, so when I come back, I need to bring just my revised site plan showing that the wall is
Yes.
no longer on.
Yes.
On the.
So if between now and the next hearing date, if you do get a revised site plan showing that that has been removed, you could submit it you can submit it to us, and then we'll have a clean site plan that we can work from.
Okay, not a problem. When is the March hearing?
It's March 12th.
March 12th.
March
Okay.
12th.
Sounds good. Same time as? This one? Okay.
Yes, well, and There was one other thing too, so while you're working with another month, is that you're also over your impervious 39%, 35% is correct. Our stormwater manager is here. If you could meet with him today to set a date so that you could talk about ways in which to mitigate your impervious to get it to 35%, I think that would be really helpful. So you're sort of working on two issues at the same time, and you can come back with a proposal then.
The reason I applied for the variance on the 39 versus 35% was to avoid having to completely redesign the house and the whole site plan from scratch, because the only way to reduce the site plan is to change the layout and the footprint of the house. So that's why I was hoping to get that approved. I'll gladly talk to.
Well,
to
Mr.
him
Heath
and
is
see.
really good. There's ways in which you can reduce your impervious surface.
Okay. I'm more than happy to speak to him. I just wanted to explain what our reason
Okay.
for the variance was. Yes.
So if you can meet with him, he comes up with some very great ways in which to reduce impervious surface, dry wells, a whole variety of things. So I think it would just behoove you to meet with him as well, and then you can come back with your proposal.
Okay.
So you can submit it in before the next hearing date.
Okay, so will I need to send any paperwork in before the next hearing, or does it just carry and I just come over? Okay,
Okay?
all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So I make a motion that we hold V25 until the March meeting.
I second.
Please place your votes. Motion to hold is accepted. Thank you. Next, Mr. Peterson.
Okay, last item is variance case V30, Mission Builders LLC, request a variance to reduce the rear setback from required 35 feet to 10 feet in land lot 109 of the 17th district. The property is located on the east side of Leland Court, north of Camellia Circle. The applicant is present, and there was one person opposed. All those who wish to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in. You left?
Yes, I explained. Good afternoon. My name is Kushka Scott. I'm with Mission Builders. I'm the general contractor for this project. When the opposition raised their hand, I went and spoke with them, showed them the site plan, and kind of explained to them what we were doing, and they left.
That's perfect.
Thank you. Do you have anything else to add to your testimony?
No.
Okay, well then if you can have a seat for us, that would be great. Awesome. Appreciate you. Well, I'm ready to make a motion. I make a motion that we, do I add him back to the original consent agenda?
No,
or?
just approve.
Okay, well, let's make a motion to approve this particular variance, which is variance B30, as originally stated with staff comments and stipulations.
I second it.
Please place your votes. Motion is passed. Did we do one more?
That's it.
Oh, okay. All righty. Housekeeping. Deidre. Okay, is everybody?
Move to the minutes of the variance hearing of January 15, 2025, as written.
Second.
Please vote. All right, the minutes are approved. Motion for the,
Work session. I make a motion to approve the work session minutes.
yes,
Second.
all right. Vote is approved. All right, now do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'm happy to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Vote. Pass 4-0, thank you. You're adjourned. I'm waiting for the time.